Good day, grade 12 students. Welcome to Inquiry, Investigation, and Immersion class. I just want to congratulate you dahil approved ang title nyo. So for today, we are going to discuss about identifying problems and asking questions, an introduction. But before that, we are going to discuss first the outcomes of learning. So at the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and define the research problem, formulate a clear statement of research problem, and compose an introduction that follows guidelines and formats. Okay. According to Creswell 2012, this is one of the most challenging of conducting a research that leads to a need for your study. Without knowing the research problem, readers do not know why your study is important and why they should read your study. So you may be asked, what is a research problem? This is the area of concern that needs to be addressed in your study. And in your research title, what is the area of concern that needs to be addressed? That is the research problem. Now, according to Creswell of 2012, okay, Creswell suggests questions that a researcher like you may ask in identifying a research problem. What was the issue, problem, or controversy that the researcher wanted to address? What controversy leads to a need for this study? What was the concern being addressed behind this study? So we are now done identifying your research problem. We can now start constructing the introduction. Okay, here are the format, or here is the format in writing introduction, or what we call the research problem statement. Okay, we have a format in writing an introduction, application. Okay, by the way, this is an application of three rhetorical moves by Swales or Swales of 1990. It is composed of paragraphs that introduces the research study. Each paragraph discusses a specific part or elements of introduction. These elements of introduction are the application of three rhetorical moves by Soales of 1990. Okay, that's your teacher discussed this last semester. If so, I hope you still remember it. This contains the following. We have the first part, the argument or claims. Argument or claims, we have establishing a research territory where you will be able to show that the research area is important, problematic, or relevant in some way. Here are the points you need to consider in writing this part. This section introduces where the research is coming from. You need to state or cite here the research problem. Next, the statement of the research problem should be concise and should identify the key factors or the variables of the study. Yeah. The writer creates a clear rationale for the importance of the study, and it states the glimpse of the background of your research. In this section, you can elaborate on the significance of your study for researchers, practitioners, and policymakers. We have also the second part, which is the discussion of variables. Okay. Let us define first what is a variable. It is a characteristic that takes on different values or conditions for different individuals. Okay, this varies These changes within a study from group to group or person to person or even with one person each time. Um, each person over time. Examples of this, we have age, gender, ideas, achievements, and others. Okay, this section discusses the variables in the study. What is the variable in your study? Cite it, then elaborate sufficient explanation and of the variable in your research. The third and the fourth part, we have related literature that supports and contradicts your discussed variables. Okay, you have here to establish a research territory where you are going to introduce and review previous research in the field. Okay, this part is important because you will provide evidences to prove the mentioned variables in your study. In this section, the move one in three rhetorical moves is being applied. Okay, establishing the research territory. Okay, here are some points you need to consider. This section comes with the related literature that will support the third part, okay, and the fourth part of the variables in the study. Okay, the third part is um, related literature that will support, and the fourth part which contradicts the variable in your study. Details regarding the variables must be written in section. Yeah. And it must be cited properly to avoid plagiarism. We have here the fifth part, which is the research gap. This one is the most important part of introducing your research. Okay, let's first identify what a research gap is. A research gap refers to such unexplored ideas that have scope for further research. Okay, we have here move to establishing a niche where you will be able to claim that something is wrong with the previous research and raise a question where research in the field is unclear. Moreover, this is a research question or problem that has not been answered in your area of interest. This section clearly states the research gap in the study. Okay. Here on the second one, okay, research question or problem that has not been answered in your area of interest, you need to claim what is unclear in the field of your research. Okay, claim something is, I mean, in other words, you need to claim that what is unclear in the field of your research, and claim something that something is wrong in the previous researches, as what have mentioned on the move to, or on the rhetorical moves wherein you will establish a niche. Okay, and you will be able to provide statement or elaborate on how you will fill the gap. Previous research or literature review will help you in identifying the research gap. We have the sixth part, which is the related review of literature or RRL that will emphasize your research gap. Move to establishing a niche where you will be able to highlight a gap in the field. It provides relevant literature that will highlight or emphasize your research gap. Okay, that's the sixth part. We have also seventh part, which is the goal or purpose of the research. We are now on the move three, occupying the niche, where you will be able to outline your purposes and state the nature of your research. It discusses the aim and objective of the research. It entails the goals from startup to the result of your study. It elaborates the reasons why the study adds to the scholarly research and literature in the field and how the study helps improve practice. And the last one, the eighth part, we have related literature that supports your goal. This section entails the discussion of the goals or purposes of the study by providing contributory related literature, and it must be cited properly. That's all. I hope you learned something and happy writing.